Nobody from Malacca. Okay, I guess I'm alone. Okay, so basically, why there is a course, this well intervention project control course, because there is a previous incident, right, that happened in the industry related to well operation. So basically, the most famous one, I think all of you know about this, is the Deepwater Horizon incident. It's that rig. So this incident happened around 11 years ago. It happened when the high pressure gas from the reservoir enter the well bore, and then we allowed to expand before it was detected. So basically, you have watched the movie, I believe. So from that movie, you can conclude there's a certain area that we can improve in terms on how we can control our well. Basically, this is in drilling case, but later it moved also to the perspective from well intervention operation, because if there is an incident related to intervention, it also will cause a similar consequence. So delaying in securing the well will allow the hydrocarbon to be released to the outside the containment. So this is a thing that we want to prevent. So the impact of this incident, blow up that this deep water horizon well, so it caused loss of 11 lives, right, and destruction of the drilling unit itself, and also uncontrolled flow of hydrocarbon into the sea, right? So it happened around 3 months, right? So we took quite a lot of time because of the contingency plan. It need to drill relief well, right? So that is not a good contingency plan. As we see over here, it's around it took around 3 months. And it costs around 4.9 million barrel of crude spilled to the sea. So it's about a week of Malaysia total crude production is about 700,000 barrel. So affect the name of the company itself, the operating company, right, and the contractor, the rig owner, and as well impact to the society, that impacted for example fishermen, for the tourism industry, because the oil now being all over the beach. So this is what happened after this incident. This is the consequence, right? So that's why we have this kind of subject. We want to talk about the subject, the well intervention, and actually what we can offer you to prevent all of this from happen. Okay, guys, are you okay? Uh, so, Daniel, you can listen to me clear, right?
Loud and clear.
Okay.
You're lucky because we just mute this now. But yeah.
Okay. So, impact of industry, like we discussed before, if there is a spill, disaster happen on the rig, drilling rig, production platform. So what will happen? So it will get a coverage from media, you see, and also it will give a bad impression to our industry, especially oil and gas. And now we have now we face a challenge from this green movement, and then with additional event, it can fuel up the news, right? And then you see it will cause capital in terms of financial impact to the company itself, right? To the stakeholders, the owner of the company, government, and you see also from there impact to the environment, right? So this is all things that we want to prevent from happen. So that's why we have this certified training and assessment that Daniel have shared with you before. So because we want to ensure the competency, of the personnel that operate, that conduct the operation offshore. For example, in Malaysia, mostly we do exploration and production offshore of our uh, oil field, right? And capability of this personnel to apply the skill to contain the pressure, right? And let's say there's an incident of this operation, we can reduce the severity. So in this training, we will learn about full scenario, what can happen, possibly happen during well intervention, and how we can mitigate it. And we can also know about our colleague experience and knowledge. Let's say if we pass this course, so we know that we can rely on him, and he also can share with the colleagues among the offshore over there, and also trust of the stakeholders and compliant with the regulatory requirement. So let's say if there's a incident, well controlled event happen, so it can impact to the personnel, right? Loss of life, right? You can see from the previous incident, it's about at the rig of the water horizon, cost about 11 life, right? Injury, and as well loss of employment, right? So asset, we also can have asset damage, or we can have a total loss, disaster. Environment impact, heart of our operation, we need either to suspend or just abandon the job. The name of the company itself, right? The name of the staff, and also to the people, right? So this is again, we already talk about what will the consequence, right? So this WCF certification, actually WCF is an independent body. It focuses on develop and administer this well control training and well intervention pressure control training, the assessment and also certification program, right, for the EP sector around the world. So following from the incident, there is a report produced by the IOGP, International Oil and Gas Producer. So in report number 476, there is an introduction of two programs, right? So drilling well control. So this is specifically in drilling operation, exploration, drilling, development, drilling. And then the second one, that is a well intervention pressure control, right? So this is during completion, well intervention or abandonment. Sometimes we use this conveyance. This program split into 5 levels, from level 1 until level 5, to provide employees, the, staff, people that working with this industry, right? So all the assessment will be organized by the RUCF, and will take place in a closed book assessment, right? So it will be held in the center, approved center by RUCF. So as per the IOGP report, this is, and also this is the level guidance chart. There are 5 level of well intervention pressure control program, right? So the level 1, it will be the introduction level, right? So it will create awareness. So what's the training purpose? You want to create the awareness of the process and terminology of well cycle, right? So I recommend to you, if you haven't do this, you can just log into this portal. Later I will share that link, right? So it actually is a free course, right? So you can have like introduction of what is the process in well operation, what is the importance of well control and intervention pressure control, the life of the well cycle, how we can contain, let's say there's an incident, the ERP, and what the role and responsibility of each personnel. Basically, we have few module to complete, and you also have assessment, right? Around, you need to pass 70%. That will be the minimum marks. All free, yeah. So this is a good for rustabout, right? maybe even a fresh graduate, crane operator, deck crew that not really related to working with this control equipment or pressurized control equipment. And then the level two, this is especially been made for the operation team, right? So for example, operation engineer, right? Sick line crew members, cold tubing crew member that not really need to have this at the advanced level of certificate. So this is a second introduction, right? So the assessment will be held at the approved training center, for example, Aberdeen Drilling School. And then the level three, so as an equipment operator, right? As an equipment operator, for example, slick line, wireline operator, coil tubing operator, snubbing operator, you need to have this certificate at level three. So this training will focus on what is the correct action that you need to take to implement. This is more on execution because you are the one that operate the equipment, right? So in Malaysia, basically, this is a must to have a requirement for most of the operating company. Yeah. And the next level will be the level four. This is meant for supervisors, right? So this training is made to for the supervisor to anticipate. Let's say what will be the potential issue with the operation plan for to contain the issue and also verify what actually the challenge that they have in well site. So it be designed for supervisors, right? Completion over intervention supervisors, the superintendent, the crew chief, and also the office-based operational staff, right? For example, engineers, right? So this is a compulsory requirement if you want to be a well site supervisors for well operations. And the next one, it will be level five. This is advanced level of certification. Right? This is meant for engineers that will design the plan. Let's say if there is an issue in the well operation, and also the approving authority. Right? This is more on the skill to design and contain the well. Let's say there is a blowout or a leak. Right? Okay, guys. So any question about this slide? Are you all good? All of you can hear me? All right. Okay, so if no, I move to the next slide. So why this IWCF Well Intervention Project Control Certification? Because this certification is a regulatory requirement from the operating company and also the oil field service company. Because the operating company mandate this is a requirement, so the service company need to follow the requirement of the client, right? So for example, if Petronas, Shell and has Nippon one this is as a requirement they put inside the contract, so the service company need to follow that requirement. The equipment operator need to have this certification, right? And then the supervisors of this the service company as well as the operating company also need to have this certification, right? And this is a requirement to run the job or even for promotion. Let's say initially you are the operator assistant, right? And then after a few years, right, you have got sufficient experience and your management team have a confidence in you that you can run the job as an operator. So they want to promote you, but in order for you to get a promotion and be promoted, so you need to have this certification, right? That is one of example. right? So this training in well intervention, well pressure control is an essential part ensuring the competence of the personnel involved in the planning and the carry out execute the works at the well site. And in this course, in this program, we actually have 5 modules. Currently, we have 5 modules. So basically, the 2 module is the compulsory module, the completion operation and also completion equipment, right? So in completion operation, basically, you learn what actually the barrier, right? The barrier of well intervention, and then hydrostatic barrier, the volume, how you can calculate the volume, right? The tubing volume, analyze volume, and then in equipment, basically you learn about the equipment in the well, from the tubing hanger, from the surface equipment until the shoe, right? And then for cold tubing operation, we will learn about the equipment itself, the cold tubing, and then the PCE, pressure control equipment of the cold tubing, the internal barrier, what will be the internal barrier, what will be the external barrier. We will have a look after this. Similar like wireline and snubbing, the overview of the equipment itself, what the function of the tools, and then the PCE of the equipment, right? For wireline, we only have external barrier, primary, secondary, shearing barrier. For snubbing, we have internal and external barrier, and for certain scenario, what the action that will be taken, right? So that the thing that we will review within that course, right? So 5 subject, 2 compulsory element, and 3 optional, right? So if you are the coil tubing operator, you can actually have 3 module only, the compulsory plus coil tubing operation. That's all, right? But for operating company representative, you need to have at least 4 or 5, right? Coil tubing and wireline usually is a must, and snubbing, so it's depend on your operation. Right? So this is the link, right, for the level 1, right? So let's say if you haven't do this before, you can have a look, log in to this portal, and you can try to. This is introduction of level 1, well control and well intervention pressure control, and you will get the certificate after you have completed this assessment in level 1. So then now we move to the extent of the subject, introduction to well intervention. So why actually we do well intervention? So what this is the purpose, right? Because there will be a purpose, right? So well intervention basically is about lowering the operating costs and improving the oil and gas production. Right? So if you can see from the picture over there, eh, if exploration and well construction is not is beyond the boundary of well intervention definition. So completion, operation, production, abandonment. So there is actually the activity of well intervention will happen, right? So we will use our pressure control equipment, right? And basically, we call it some of this like conveyors and coil tubing is a non-rig, right? Non-rig well operation. If snubbing also can have a non-rig or rig, uh, uh, well operation. So basically, the purpose of this well intervention is to improve uh, our hydrocarbon production. Right? So how we can improve the production? By first we need to identify the issue, right? Diagnose what is the issue with the well. Is that due to the integrity problem, mechanical problem, or maybe there is a obstruction, or maybe there is a change in reservoir behavior, right? So all of these, based on this diagnosis, we can overcome this issue, the problem that we found with the technological solution. Right, so we have a lot of equipment in the market, and you can Google it in the market in the world currently. Every service company, they come up with their socialized equipment, right? So There's a lot in the market this is what we call technological solution in order uh, to uh, to improve the hydrocarbon production. So why this well intervention is as I will say is a good prospect because in well intervention we work in a mature field, right? So existing field, so you can imagine if a one rig, how much it can drill per year, and existing field we have already a well that been producing, and some of well is idle well, right? So compared to the new well being drilled or existing well, in terms of quantity, the number, we lot of different, right? For example, right, in Malaysia we have thousand of string. It's a mature field, right? Old field, right? Thousand of string, right? If we can improve, right, this production, rate of production of this cumulative of string, so you can imagine how much better when you recover from this well, right? So about 40% of this existing field, the well is performing below the expectation due to the well integrity, mechanical issue, and maybe a change in behavior of the reservoir, right? And yeah, so why we do this well intervention? Because underperforming assets, right? Our well, right, is underperformed, so we want to fix it. Reduce, right? Hydrocarbon recovery, and also well integrity. So well integrity can be mechanical, right? So maybe there's a leak or malfunction valve, right? So we can need to fix it. So in well intervention, basically we will work with the well with the well is still being pressurized. So we don't kill the well. The well is still pressurized, because if we kill the well, right, we need to stimulate the well back. So it will cost us money, right? Because we need to stimulate it back, and it's not necessary after we stimulate it, we can get the production rate similar like before we kill the well, right? So it will cause a complication if you if you kill the well, right? So this intervention generally will be conducted by these three conveyance. So in Abu Siaf, basically we discuss about these three conveyances. So Y line, this is a Y line conveyance. So you can see the E line unit from Slamaja, and that is the stick line unit from dimension bit, green in color. Coil tubing unit, this is onshore for onshore operation, and this is the snubbing unit. So basically we have three method when we want to do well intervention, right? So when we do well intervention, like we discussed, the well is still pressurized, so we need to have the pressure control equipment during operation. So basically, Y-line operation is referred to the use of slick line. So later we will see what is a, type of wire, slick line or braided wire, or even we can use the single conductor of multi-conductor as a conveyance for the Y-line operator to lower down equipment. Either is a logging tools, is a mechanical device or measuring device into the well, right? So basically you can see from here there's a two unit of this is a one E line belong to Slamuja, and the right one is a SIG line unit. So this is at offshore Terengganu, right? So wireline operation. So basically, I will share with you what is best wireline operation. This is a slick line operation at Netherlands, I believe. So I hope it will give you better understanding of what is the wireline operation, because actually this is a introduction course, right? So I hope it will give you better understanding about wireline. So I will share this. You share.
It's early in the morning, somewhere in the northern part of the Netherlands. 2 trucks and 4 crew members of the Well Services Group are entering the premises of Vermilion, a gas and oil company operating worldwide. They are here for a reason. Gas production dropped down severely and nobody really knows what the problem is. That's why they are here. Just an ordinary day for some extraordinary people. Well,
Just want to check, can you hear the sound? Daniel, can you hear the sound?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Thanks.
here is the story.
Yep, okay, bye.
My name is Fain. I'm 24 years old. I work for a company called Well Services Group. We're active in the oil and gas industry. We do clean-outs in wells. We do downhole services.
My name is Sander de Kaat. I'm 22. On this job I'm a slickline supervisor. We have slickline, core tubing, pipeline services.
Before they can start with the first part of the process, slick lining, they have to position all the equipment that they will need to use in the coming days exactly in the right position. This so-called rigging is the responsibility of Roy Terveen, who is supervising this whole delicate operation.
Brought the equipment exactly the way it should be, because you want to have a visual on almost everything, so that you can have a big overview, like a helicopter view. The key to solving problems is always to stay focused, stay calm, don't panic.
Normally we only think forward. So we see a problem, we're going to find out what it is, we're going to solve it as quick as possible for the client, and then we're going to continue with the job.
Yeah, this job is, in my opinion, all about teamwork. If you don't do it as a team, I don't think the job's going to happen at all.
Now the crew can start with the slick lining to see if the problem causing the setback in production can be found. Keep in mind that this problem is probably thousands of meters under the surface of the Earth.
First thing we do is pulling the safety valve. After that we go in with slickline with a drift run to see till which depth we can go.
I mean, you can't see what you're actually doing, so you're always looking at your depths and at your weights.
It's all blind. The only thing you see is weight and depth.
Besides tackling unforeseen obstacles and staying focused on the job, there is another challenge coming up: the weather.
You don't want any time loss on this job. The weather can have a big influence on it, because if you have too much wind, then cranes can't function normally anymore. Well, we got wind meters, and as soon as the wind picks up above a certain amount, then we just have to quit, you have to stop working.
Conquering wind and rain, the problem is finally found at a depth of more than 3 kilometers deep down in the ground. It's salt.
The salt builds up on the side of the tubing, and that can create a problem with your production flow. Yeah, the production fell back like 30%, so now it's up to us to clean it out and see if we can get it back up.
Day 2. The mini coil is put in place. Wind and rain have passed, which is a good thing because the crew is on a tight schedule. The salt problem needs to be solved, and it needs to be solved today. More than ever, time is money.
Well, as soon as everything's on the right spot and as soon as your equipment's ready to go, we rig up our mini coil tubing.
And we pump water with a little bit of KCl to wash the salt away, the salt plug.
KCl water, that's a mixture of salt and water. It's easier to remove the salt in that case because it sticks on to the salt which is already in the water.
The guys are working hard, keeping a constant eye on each other and trusting one another. This is teamwork at its best, and it works slowly as the gas production is picking up.
The salt problem has been solved, the production is back up to speed, so the client is happy. The biggest issue we had was the weather, the rain. Rain is always a bummer, but it's part of the job.
Every well is different. Now we're doing a salt wash, but next year it can be a completely different problem.
So every day you go in and you never know what you can expect.
And that's what I also like about my job, the challenge.
The environment, the working with the crews, everything together. It's the total picture, I think.
It's an oil team.
Now all that is left is putting the original setup back in place, loading up the gear and going back home to prepare for another challenge on another location. But for now, a job well done.
Okay, I will share back my slide. Hold a moment. Okay, this one. Right, control. Okay, good. So basically that is the stick line operation, right? So stick line operation actually is the initial conveyance, the early method of how this wire line operation being done, and then it being evolved right, into similar is a wire line operation, but currently we have the E line, right? E line technology. So it's mean inside this wire you have a conductor right, to transmit the signal. Right? So we have real-time communication between surface to downhole. Right? So basically, why I share SIG line because it's the earliest technology that we have in wireline. So SIG line, we will discuss about wire, the wire, because the wire will determine what kind of PCE that you will use, right, for this wireline operation. Because in wireline operation, we have two type of PCE, yeah? A single strand and multi-strand. So that's why we discuss about the wire first. We need to understand the wire. I believe this is introduction course. Right? So that's why I we introduce you what is the type of wire, basic of it, and then next what the activity that we can do with the wireline operation and as well as the PCE of it. So the slick line actually is a smooth single strand wire. You can see from there, it's size from 092 to 125 inch. Right? So it's got no conductor. Right? For stick line, it got no conductor. But nowadays they have one technology. They call it digital stick line. Right. So with digital stick line, there's a telemetry inside the wire, so they can have a real-time communication between surface to downhole. But now we are talking about stick line itself right, alone. So it's being used for light well construction and maintenance. For example, if we want to get a logging data, right? So we will use a memory type logging equipment to get the well data. For example, if you want to have the bottom hole pressure survey, right? So we use a memory, a battery type, because it cannot transmit a real-time data to surface. It's like similar like E-line. So stick line also it work with the mechanical services such as replacing the downhole safety valve, right? Well bore cleaning. If the scale is not really hard, we can do well bore cleaning, right? Fishing, and we can also set the plug gauges, downhole gauges, adjust the sleeve, right? The sliding side door, as well as for the tubing repair within the well bore. Right? So this is the picture of the slick line wire, right? Small wire. Next, we talk about braided line. So braided lines is a bigger wire. So it's a within similar group with the electric wire, right? Braided line and E line. Because of the size, it will the PCE type will be similar, right? So it's a strong braided wire line of various size being used to retrieve tool heavier than slick line can handle. Because of the size, it's bigger, so relatively it have higher strength. Right, so it's being used for fishing job, so heavy duty fishing job, and also for wellbore cleaning works, right? Next, we move to the electric line, right? So electric line consists of single conductor or multi-conductor cable within inside the wire. So this conductor are used to transmit either power or data from the downhole, bottom hole to the surface in real time, right? So for single mono cable, right, conductor, single conductor mono cable are used for production services in case wells because of their small cross-section area, right? So it's more suitable for project operation, right? For multi conductor cable are used primarily in open hole as well in the gas hole application, right? So basically there's a T type over here: stick line wire, braided wire, and electric line. So what actually we can do with wireline, wireline operation, right? So we can basically do the mechanical completion, intervention or maintenance. For example, if our tubing retrieval, triple SV safety valve is a fail, right? So how we can fix that? By using wireline, right? Stick line, right? For example, we can set the lock open tool in the tubing retriever, and we can set the insert valve as uh, a replacement for this fail downhole safety valve, right? We can also do the perforation, right? Production logging, right? Because if you want to know the behavior of our reservoir, right? So for the interpretation from engineering side, for example, physicists, uh, reservoir engineer, they need to have this data during they can get this data during logging activities. So we can do that by a wireline. And let's say if there's a obstruction, right, we can use wireline to mill that obstruction, right? For E-line, we can provide extra power, supply the power to operate the motor, right? And also we can do logging for check the integrity of the well. For example, cement evaluation, what's the current condition of this cement bond, right? uh, Pipe recovery. Let's say we have a stuck pipe, so we can cut the pipe using this stick line conveyance. So we can run the tool, the jet cutter RCT. So we can use that tool to cut the stuck pipe to recover the free part of this pipe. And we can also use this wireline for fishing. Let's say if there's a loss of tool inside the well. So how we can grab it back by using this wireline. We have few selection type of fishing tool you can choose based on the application. So fishermen will determine that, and we can fish that by using wireline conveyance. And also leak detection tool. This is more on integrity of our well, right? So this is a example. It's not all example that I can share with you. What is the activity we can do with wireline. So basically, this is an introduction of the PCE equipment with wireline. So in the course for level 3 and level 4, you will review this together with the instructor in detail, right? So, what is the PCE of the equipment, and let's say if there's a scenario, right? They give you scenario, what's the action you need to take. So basically, this one will be just an overview of it. So for a single strand barrier system, the primary barrier will be the stuffing box. You can see over here, that will be our primary barrier. Right? So during a slick line operation, wire is moving or it's not moving, it's a dynamic or static. If there is no wire also, that will be the primary barrier, the stuffing box. And the secondary barrier will be the 2 BOP. Right? So we need to have a 2 barrier, right? That is the standard industry standard, 2 barrier. So we have 2 BOPs. If there is a wire in the well, so we will close our BOP. If there is no wire in the well, the secondary barrier will be the swap valve. Right? So we secure our well as normal as we do. And the shearing barrier for slick line, we can either use the Christmas tree valve because our wire is very thin and we can cut it by using the gate valve, or even if we have the shear seal, it's much better, right? For the multi-stem barrier system, okay, this one is for braided and electric line. That's why I introduce you with the wire type of wire first before we move to this. So because of the size is slightly bigger compared to the slick line, so the PCE equipment, the pressure control equipment will also be slightly different, right? If there is static wire, dynamic, the wire is moving. If there is no wire, right, the prime barrier will be for static hydraulic back off. If the wire is not moving, if the wire is moving, the grease injection head over here, that one will be the primary barrier, right? So it's not like our stuffing box. It can be both, right? But this one is different. And also, if there is no wire, let's say there is the wire parted in the middle of operation, wire parted, right? So our ball will push by the well bore pressure, right? And it will seal our check valve, right? So that will be a prime barrier when the wire is parted. It's not wire, no wire over there. For the secondary barrier, it will be the dual inverted BOP, right? So there is two BOP over here. So each BOP have two ram. So there is a normal and inverted ram, right? So normal ram will hold the pressure from below, and inverted ram will hold pressure from above, right? So we'll inject grease in between this normal and inverted ram, and we'll do the pressure test at least 1.2 times than the anticipated well pressure, right? So the grease itself basically is the barrier, right? So you see there's a two grease, which means we have two barrier, right? And for this multi-strand wire, we need to have the shear seal BOP, because our Christmas tree valve, the gate valve cannot shear off this braided wire because it's thick, it's thicker compared to slick line wire. So we need to have the shear seal BOP, right? So if we have the wire loss in the well, so we need to fish it, right? So this is the example after the wire being fished to surface, right? Right. So this is roundabout. You need to do the housekeeping. So you need to cut the wire by using the cutting torch. And do housekeeping before you can proceed with the next fishing plan. Right. So this is example of it. This is on the rig. Right. Okay, next we move to coil tubing operation. So this is the coil tubing unit. For coil tubing actually is a long continuous metal pipe that is around a large reel. So this is the reel. Right? This is the reel. So it's around this. The coil tubing is around this large reel. So this it will be a conveyance, right? For well repair and workover activity. So we will see later what's the activity we can do with coil tubing. Advantage over wireline because the ability of this equipment to be pumped through it. So we know the coil is like a pipe. So inside the pipe there's a hole, right? So we can pump chemical fluid, right, inside the coil. So for example, if you want to have stimulation activity, right, work, right, so we can pump stimulation fluid, acid, for example, metric acidizing to frac or stimulate the formation, or even if we want to frac the formation, we can use the coil tubing. And it also is independent from gravity. It's not really heavily depend on gravity because it a kind of a rigid material compared to wire, right? So we can relatively push it to overcome obstruction, right? So this is the coil tubing operation. So basically, the equipment is small compared to wireline. So you can see over there the seat rails, the jack-up frame, the towers, a nitrogen unit, a separator. Uh, so we need to have kind of larger deck space. That's why there's a one company, X-Pro, they introduce with coil hose. This equipment can provide a kind of similar service like coil tubing, but with small footprint. So yeah, so this is a coil tubing operation. This is a video of it. Yeah, show you this of it. I hope the video is moving. Okay, right? That will be the reel, and this is the guide arc, the gooseneck, and this is the injector. Right? So it will inject if the pipe is light, it mean the well force is higher than the weight of the pipe. It will snub using this injector. And let's say if this pipe is lighter, right? It's heavier, so it will hold the pipe in position to prevent the pipe from run away into the well. So this is at offshore Terengganu, Tapis Charlie. So what actually we can do with coil tubing, we can improve the oil production from existing well by installing this velocity string, right? So velocity string actually we kind of like install a smaller diameter of production string, right? Using this coil tubing, and of course, if we reduce the area cross section area of the tubing, we will have a higher velocity flow of gas, right? So this gas we transport together with the liquid to surface, right? Right. And then by using this conveyor, we can do perforation, like similar like wireline. We can do this coil tubing wellbore clean out. This cannot be done with wireline, right? So we can use the tool like that blaster to clean the well from the sand, circulate out the sand out from the well to clean the well to revive back the production. We can use as a milling, it's milling equipment, mill the stuck fish, for example. There's an obstruction that thing that we think we cannot fish it out, we can mill it slowly. uh, if we want to artificial lift kick off the production, right? So we can inject nitrogen, right? Because the density of this nitrogen is lighter, it's a gas compared to other fluid. If we can artificial lift our key fluid, for example, or also our hydrocarbon, right? We also can use this as a drilling equipment, right? So we have this current technology. I use this motor to drill a new section of well. We also can use as a fracture stimulation. If you can frac the formation, we use the propan to ensure that the formation is the permeability, the communication is keep open. We can frac the formation, and as well you can do the logging job. We can check the integrity of the well, the behavior of the formation, formation evaluation, right? So similar kind of like wireline logging. But it got advantage because we can push it from surface because it's a rigid pipe. Compared to wireline, we need to use a tractor. So tractor, let's say if you had issue with angle, with gravity, so angle of the well, you can use this equipment as a motorized roller to guide a wireline to be moved inside the well. So this is the PCE of coil tubing. Right? So basically, we have internal and external barrier system, right? Because inside the coil, we also still have communication from bottom hole, right? So for internal barrier, it will be the dual check valve, right? So it will be 2 check valve. And for external barrier, the prime barrier will be the strippers over here, right? Strippers below the injector. You can see there is a strippers. There are few type of strippers, right? We will learn that in the course, right? A 4-day course, right? So I cannot share everything within this 1 hour plus. Right? So a few type of strippers, side doors, right? And the secondary barrier will be the BOP, right? So BOP, this is a quad type BOP. We have a pipe ram, we have the slip ram, blind ram, shear ram inside within the quad BOP system. So it will be internal and external barrier. Why? Because the pipe ram will seal the annulus of this coil. And if we shear the pipe, right, we can pick up the top section of the coil and then we close the blind ram. It can be the barrier for internal part of the coil tubing, right? And the secondary barrier also can be the annular preventer, right? So annular preventer, it can the packing element is a dynamic sealing element, right? It can move, right? So it can seal various size of diameter of BHA, right? So it's a external barrier. And the shearing barrier similar to Y-line, it will be the shear seal BOP over here. So we install as close as possible to the Christmas tree, right? All right, guys. So the last one will be the snubbing operation. So snubbing unit basically is a hydraulically actuated unit that contains slips. So there's a 4 slip. There's a moving slip and also stationary slip for each pipe condition, right? So there's will be heavy and light pipe, right? And hydraulic jack and blow up preventer stack basically, and our service system capable to pulling and inserting our string from a live well, hydraulic over, right? So we working on well, we do completion during the well is still live, right? So basically I will share with you about the snubbing unit, right? What actually snubbing unit looks like. Bear with me for a while. Okay. Stop sharing, share screen. Okay, so I will play this. So this is snubbing unit, right?
Balance point control creates world-leading snubbing units for either onshore or offshore operations and has recently introduced the CSU 160. The CSU 160, one of the latest generations of rig-integrated snubbing units, combines safety and efficiency on board of conventional and automated jack-up rigs. The function of the CSU 160 is to insert or remove pipes while the well is under pressure. First, the traveller slips secure on the pipe. The pipe is moved using a hydraulic jack. Next, the stationary slips secure on the pipe, holding it firmly in place. This way, the traveller slips can release the pipe, allowing the jack-up to reposition. The unit is remote controlled and the software includes multiple safety functions, including slip interlock. Vertical movement can be compensated by the pre-tensioning system. The well pressure is controlled by using 2 stripper BOPs. After a tool joint passes, the BOP closes, containing the pressure below. Pressure between the upper and lower stripper BOP is released by opening a remote-controlled bleed-off valve. The upper BOP is opened and the tool joint can be pulled out of the well. Next, the pressure between the BOPs is equalized again. With equal pressure, the bottom BOP can be opened again, allowing the next tool joint to be stripped out. During conventional drilling, the unit imposes no restrictions. A full through-bore opening is maintained by rotating the slips away from the well center. When pressurized well conditions occur, the unit moves quickly into action, saving precious rig time and costs. The CSU 160 easily takes over control of the pipe with no time lost. The existing pipe handling of the jackup rig can be used to manage the pipe. To summarize, the CSU 160 Rig Assist Snubbing Unit comes with the standard equipment package for each jackup drilling underbalanced wells. It reduces risks and non-productive time by quickly responding to changing well conditions. It is completely remote controlled from the driller's cabin and requires less personnel to operate it. It incorporates the latest generation of snubbing interlocks and safety control systems. It keeps the drill floor clear at all times, and it is designed for efficiency plus quick rig up. At Balance Point Control, we pride ourselves on our expertise, experience, engineering support, and persistent push to achieve the optimal solution.
Okay, that will be overview what actually is the snubbing unit. Snubbing unit. Okay, so I will back to our slide. Share screen. Share again back my slide. Okay, so I will present it back. Close like this. All right. So basically over there you can see there's two sleep, right? Stationary as well as traveling, right? Traveling sleep, right? So it will work together, right? So when the traveling sleep want to be released, the stationary sleep will hold, grip the pipe to ensure the pipe in static position. So there will be an interlock system to ensure each of these sleep, one of the sleep are fully function, fully closed, and then it will allow the another sleep to be open. So this is a safety mechanism of it, the interlock system. So what we can do with snubbing, so basically we can deepen the well, drilling the well a little bit. We can do recompletion, work over the well. We can basically work over, it means we replace the existing completion in the well to the new one, right? So that's why we can change the liner or the packer, for example, over here. And we also can do the fishing job through tubing fishing, right, using this snubbing unit, right? This is an example of it. And we also can do the off-course completion work, gravel pack installation. So gravel pack is meant for to filter out the sand for migrate into our well bore, right? So sand is an issue in the production, right? If there is a lot of sand, you can have issue with integrity of the well, and also the ratio of our hydrocarbon flow up to the well, as well as obstruction. And for this snubbing unit, for this conveyance, we can use this TCP to perforate the well, right? So by as well as drilling, so you use the TCP to perforate the well. And plug abandonment, we can basically pump cement to close, seal of the formation. Because the snubbing unit, we can basically same like a core tubing. There's a hollow, right? Spaces inside the pipe. We can basically pump cement for plug and abandonment job. And as well for milling operation, as heavy duty milling operation, we can use this conveyance as a milling tool. You use this milling tool to mill any obstruction, right? It's a physical metal obstruction. We can just mill it out, right? So this is few example of what we can do with snubbing unit. Right? So there's a lot of things we can actually do with this conveyance, but this is example of it. And this is the PCE of the equipment. Right? Similar like coil tubing, we will have a internal and external barrier system. Right? So this is the rig up of snubbing unit. Right? So the people, the operator, and also assistant will work on the top of the work basket. Right? And then the pipe will be transferred by the gin pool over here. And the primary barrier system will be the strippers over here. And this will be the strippers, right? Inside the hanger flange. It will be external barrier. And then also the annular preventer. Right? So annular preventer is not here. Annular preventer also will be the primary barrier. So it's depend on the pressure. Right? It's depend on the pressure. And also we have the stripping ram. Right? So this is the stripping ram. So it can be the barrier for uh, uh, external barrier for this snubbing unit, the stripping ram. Right? And for the internal barrier will be the inside the string, right? The string. So it be similar like coil tubing. There will be a dual check valve for internal barrier, and the secondary barrier will be the safety ram or pipe ram. So it will be size as per the tubing size. It will seal the annular side of this uh, string, right? And for internal barrier, it will be the full bore opening safety valve. Let's say there's an influx inside our string, right? So we will step with this TIW, sometimes it's called TIW valve, with open position. We step on the disc string and we will close the valve, close the valve. So we'll stop the flow, right? So it will be the internal barrier. Let's say we have a fail prime barrier, the dual check valve will fail. So there's an influx, we will step with the FB, right? And then that will be just temporary. So we need to do the circulation, or we fail, we need to set the plug. Set the plug. So we can use the pump down plug. There will be nipple over inside the tubing. So we will pump down the plug. So the plug will be set inside the nipple. Set there. So it will be the secondary barrier as well for internal. And the shearing barrier will be the shear seal BOP. So on top of the Christmas tree, there will be a shear seal BOP. Let's say if we have failure barrier in the prime barrier or secondary barrier, how we can secure the well? We have no option. We need to shear the string, and the string will drop, and we close the Christmas tree valve. Right? So that will be our last barrier. Okay. So basically, that is the overview of well intervention, introduction. This is introduction of well intervention. What is the type of conveyance? What is the activity we can do with each conveyance? And the pressure control equipment that we have shared with you guys for each conveyance. We have primary, secondary, shearing barriers. Right? And this is now the topic about discussion of career in well intervention. So basically, well intervention. So we work basically on the, for example, rigless unit. This is the coil tubing unit, right? It's coil tubing unit, and this is the Y line unit. You can see from here, E line, stick line, right? So there's a lot of opportunity in this field, right? Because there's a lot of existing well. That's what I have to say. There's a lot of existing well, and operating company every year they try to optimize and maximize the rate of production. Right? It's either the maximize the production or the leave the site. Right? Just sell it off to other people. Right? And so I mean to say that in order to stay in the business, you need to at least maintain or improve the production rate of your existing asset. That's why I must say that well intervention, it has a bright future, right? Bright future. So career in well intervention, exploring oil and gas field, extracting natural resources, the hydrocarbon, and refining them into a usable commodities. It's a current is the biggest industry in the world. Even now one of the biggest, right? So you will find some of these world largest and most recognizable oil companies. You can see from the at your petrol station, there's a lot of company that is basically is a downstream business. So we have the largest company right now with the largest reservoir, Aramco, right? BP, Chevron, Exxon, Shell, Pertamina in Indonesia, that's a national oil company, and in Malaysia we have Petronas, right? So it's all of this is the operating company, right? So you can work with them, or also you can, if you prefer to work with this service company, there's a company like Baker Hughes, Dimension Bit, Jowell, Expro, Halliburton, Schlumberger, Uzma, and Weatherford. All of this is basically as a service company that we provide services to this operating company. It's up to you. So where do you think that you like to place yourself in another 5 years? So that usually will be typical in the interview question. Where you see, where you see yourself in the next 5 years? So it's up to you, right? Basically, it's up to you. So if you work with the operating companies, you can be the well intervention engineers, right? So basically, you will plan, right? We have a plan for a year, right? So you lead the planning, engineering, and execution. Site will be led by the supervisor at the site, right? You also can be the subsea well intervention engineer. Right now we are move to deeper sea, right? So the technology will be a little bit different from the shallow water, right? So now we have the subsea well intervention engineers, supervisors, right? Well completion engineer. So this is after you have complete drill well, so you need to complete the well, right? So it will be also engineers and supervisors for completion side. You can be the production engineer if you've like at this area, right? How you can basically estimate, forecast production, and what basically you need to do in order to sustain all of this. You can be the planner or even the material coordinator if you like to work in this field. You can also be part of the material management team, right? You can start with the as a intern as a material coordinator, and after that, if you rise in rank, you can be the superintendent or one managers, right? So basically, this is example only. This are a lot of example. This is a few example I put in the slide. What you can be if you work with the operating company, right? And if you work with this oilfield service company, right? So basically, is depend on the qualification, experience. You basically can be if you can start with as a assistant, right? Assistant, operator assistant, right? For example, wireline operator assistant, cold tubing assistant, right? Operator assistant. And once you rise the rank, you can be the operator, the specialist. For the graduate, you can start with the to be like a field engineer for wireline, cold tubing. And also we have other role for each unit. For example, if we have a pumping unit, nitrogen unit, we have the supervisor for each respective equipment. Right? And if you prefer to work in the office, you can be also be part of the technical team. Apart from if you don't prefer to be work at the site, you can be part of the team in the office for work with the engineering team, planning side. For example, if you can be the product specialist, application engineers, special application tools, field engineers. This is still working. You can be working in the office or the offshore. So there's a company like Collab. It manufacture, deliver this technology, technological solution. Uh, so it needs specialists to in order to install and brief the customer what is the advantage of this equipment. And after that, it also will lead to sale part of it. So if you can understand the technical concept of the equipment, and you think you like to uh, work with people, right? So you can also be the technical sales advisor or engineer, work with the client, advise them what's the recommendation, recommend them what's the thing that they can do in order to achieve their objective, right? So this is example of role you can involve in the future. Like say you choose this field as your career in the future. Okay, guys. So for me, again, thank you to all of you for your participation and time. It's now 12:20, so